How you doing, guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are talking about the differences in a magnetic resistance spin bike compared to that of a friction resistance spin bike. So we'll be going through some features of each and ultimately see which one is better. So let's get into this.
Get strong.
So these are the two bikes that we'll be using here. Over here we have the juror X2. This is our magnetic spin bike. And over here then we have the XS Sports. This is the friction based spin bike. Now throughout this video I'll be breaking it down into 4 separate sections, looking at the noise produced by each. We'll be looking at the maximum resistance on each, the maintenance involved, and also the costs. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at each of the resistance on the bikes here and see how they operate. So firstly we'll take a look at our magnetic resistance spin bike. So this is the juror X2. So basically here how this works is the magnets, which you can see just there, once they come closer to the flywheel, the magnetic strip that's along the flywheel then counteracts with the magnets and allows the flywheel to slow down, slows the inertia of the flywheel down. I just simply turn on the crank here. That will allow the magnets to come closer to the flywheel and, as I said, slow down the flywheel, causing your resistance. Now on this spin bike, as you can see, the magnets are placed here. In some other spin bikes you may see magnets placed at either end of the flywheel, here and here, and once again it does the same job. It brings it closer to the flywheel and slows it down, causing your resistance. So over here now we have the XS Sports bike. This is the friction based spin bike. So as you can see here, the friction is caused by 2 felt pads on either end of the flywheel. So basically when you crank up the resistance here, this in turn will bring the felt pads closer to the flywheel, helping you to cause that resistance then. So as I said, on this spin bike there are 2 felt pads that cause the resistance on either end of the flywheel here. However, in some other spin bikes there may just be one felt pad, or a leather pad that simply rubs against the top of the flywheel here, causing this resistance. Now we're going to look at the noise level produced by each bike. So starting off now with the juror X2, as I said, this is our magnetic spin bike. So if we just simply crank up the resistance here, and we'll see what type of noise this produces. So this is now at maximum resistance. And as you can hear, it's very, very silent. The only noise I can really hear from this bike is the belt drive, but from the flywheel and the resistance itself, it's almost impossible to hear. Now we'll test out the noise of the friction resistance bike. Now you may also hear this bike is chain driven, so you hear the chain in the background. However, solely paying attention to the resistance, just cranking it up now. As you can hear, there is a slight noise with it. Obviously that's with the felt pads coming into contact with the flywheel here. So there is more of a noise on a friction based spin bike compared to that of a magnetic based spin bike. Now we're going to try the maximum resistance for each bike. Now firstly we'll start with the friction resistance spun bike. So the resistance is currently off completely. So we'll start slowly turning it on. As you can hear, the felt pads come together, causing that friction resistance. We'll just turn this up to max, which becomes very difficult to push. So as you can see, the resistance on a friction based spin bike is really incredible. Because there is that actual contact against the flywheel, it offers that maximum resistance, which is going to give you a really tough workout and get those legs burning. But now we'll jump on to the magnetic based spin bike and see the maximum resistance on that. So now we're on the magnetic resistance spin bike. Currently I have the resistance off completely. So what we'll do is we'll turn it on now to get the full maximum resistance. And that's it on fully now at max. It is pretty tough to push. It does offer that really good leg burn. It does get the legs working. However, when it comes to maximum resistance, I would say the friction resistance spin bike would be better in this case. But like I said, this still gives a really good burn. And I'm currently out of breath. So one thing to point out is that there are many spin bikes that you can buy that come in a few forms of different resistance. So in this case we have the felt pad resistance versus the magnetic resistance. The other few other forms is you would have, like I said, a leather pad resistance. Here would be on a friction based spin bike. But then there's also a digital silent magnetic resistance, which by the name of it, it is digitally controlled. So you control your resistance through the likes of iFit or even Peloton has this as well. With digital, it may not offer a very good resistance level on it because it is programmed by certain levels. However, with the Juror X2 here, the magnetic bike, and also the XS Sports friction based bike here, these are two very good spin bikes that offer an incredible level of resistance. And as I said, friction based spin bikes most of the time come in more affordable than a magnetic spin bike. So if affordability is one of your concerns, then you may prefer a friction based spin bike. However, if you feel that your budget can stretch, I would certainly choose a magnetic resistance spin bike. And the reason for it is simply because it is a lot more silent compared to that of a friction based spin bike. There is zero maintenance needed with the upkeep of the bike, and also it does offer a very good resistance level. Now if you are interested in any one of these bikes, I'll put the links to them in the description below. You can certainly check them out there. Now when it comes to maintenance and upkeep of a magnetic resistance based spin bike, there is virtually no maintenance needed at all. As I was saying, between the magnets here and the flywheel, there is no contact whatsoever. So there is no wear and tear with the flywheel, there's no wear and tear with the actual magnets. The only real maintenance you need would be to just simply clean the magnets and the outside of the flywheel here, just to make sure it gives you a proper connection and proper resistance. Now with a friction based spin bike, as there is actual contact between the felt pads here and the flywheel, there will be wear and tear. So on this spin bike, for example, as I said, these are felt pads. You also can get a leather pad on other spin bikes. Now over time, these felt pads here will wear down. So if we just come across the front of the flywheel here, and here you'll be able to see some of the felt pad that comes away, more or less just turns to dust. So I've been using this bike now for over 2 years, almost every single day. The felt pad has wore down slightly, but as you can see, there's still plenty there for the resistance to be effective against the flywheel. But it's something to make you aware of. On a resistance bike, there will be certainly wear and tear here, so just keep that in mind. Now the good thing about friction resistance spin bikes is that these pads actually can be replaced, so you can take these off. You can buy replacements. I was looking on Amazon for one for this bike for could be just under £10 for the 2 felt pads, so it can be very affordable. But as I said, once you get the bike with the actual felt pads on these, this will last you quite a long time. Now when it comes to costs involved with a friction based spin bike compared to that of a magnetic based spin bike, the friction based will always come out more affordable. Simply down to the reason is that it's more affordable to manufacture. So basically it is more affordable for the manufacturing company to install felt pads or a leather pad to cause a resistance on this, whereas it would cost more for the manufacturing company to install magnets on this type of spin bike. And obviously the more it costs for the manufacturing company, the more it costs for you as the end user. Now obviously there is a lot of other factors to take into consideration when looking at the price point of a certain spin bike. For example, if a spin bike has Bluetooth connectivity, if it has an advanced console or some other preferred key features. But when it comes to solely magnetic resistance versus friction resistance, the magnetic resistance will always come out just that bit more expensive. The other costs to take into consideration when deciding between a friction based or a magnetic based spin bike is obviously the maintenance of it. So as we've seen that with the friction based spin bike, as there will be wear and tear with the felt pads or the leather pad, whatever the spin bike has, eventually over time these will need replaced. But as I said, it could cost you just under £10 or so. With a magnetic based spin bike, as there is no actual contact with the flywheel and the magnets, there is virtually no wear and tear. So in regards to maintenance costs, there is little to none. So there you have it. There's a breakdown on the differences between the 2 main types of resistances that you can get on a spin bike. I hope this video has helped you, whether you're looking to purchase your new spin bike or your next spin bike. If you do have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to get back to you. Please like and subscribe to the channel because I'll be uploading a lot more content to help you with your indoor cycling. And as always, happy cycling. Be strong.